the attack the Argentines executed was very well planned and very professional. And I've met the man that planned it and who flew it as well. They knew from their experiences with their own Type 42 destroyers that detecting sea skimming, sea level attacks was difficult, and they knew the Type 42 had no point defence weapons as well. The Type 42 is built to fight against high-level, long-range Russian bombers. And the system is apparently quite effective for that as well. It wasn't meant to fight sea-skimming missiles as well. So they flew in underneath the radars, and at a certain range they came up and they swept with their sea search radars, and although they didn't find anything, they were detected by other units of the task force, not by Sheffield. Now that warning was given out, and it was given to the Invincible as well, who didn't believe that there was an attack on the force. And that's not the Invincible's fault, it's just one of those things at the time. But the ship that did detect it, Glasgow, was absolutely adamant that we were under attack. And Glasgow fired chaff. Now when she fired chaff, which are these missile defence big blooms of aluminium, the attacking aircraft detected those, and they didn't carry on that attack because they knew their missiles would be confused. So they turned to look for another target, and the next target they found was Sheffield. So they carried on. Now unfortunately, there's a passive detection device on a Type 42, which is a screen like a modern day computer screen, and as a radar scans across a ship, it'll come up with some kind of fuzz on the screen, depending on what its wavelength is and what its aerial rotation, what its parameters are, and you can analyse and say, oh, that's an aircraft, it's a ship, it's whatever like that. And when it scanned Sheffield and it came up on this device, the device was blinded because we were transmitting on the satellite communications to Whitehall, and that completely blanked out that particular band. So as the attacking aircraft swept its radar across us, we were blinded towards it. And that transmission probably shouldn't have happened. However, it did. And then the aircraft then dived and went below the radar again, and they came into about 23 miles, I think it was. And at 23 miles, they climbed up to, I think, 1,500 feet, and then launched the missiles. And when I met Lieutenant Commander Miura in Buenos Aires, he said he hadn't heard Captain Bedekaratz give the order to fire, but out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw this huge ball of fire, which was Bedekaratz launching his missile. So he launched his as well, and as soon as they were both launched, both aircraft turned away for home. So the missiles carried on towards Sheffield at about the speed of sound, about 700 knots or something like that, only 23 miles away. And when the warning was then given of an attack, this device, which had been blinded to the missile radar, was crash stopped, and it then appeared, and the operator analysed it and said, that's an Exocet warhead. 3, 2, 1, bang. That was about the length of the warning. Only one missile hit. The other one passed the stern and headed towards HMS Yarmouth. There's varying accounts of it flying down the side in Yarmouth, flying over the top, which I don't think is true. But either way, it flew and it ran out of fuel and it ditched in the sea. And when I met, that was Lieutenant Commander Miura's missile, and he actually seemed quite disappointed when I told him. I suppose my memories of that event and the people involved, there were a couple of people at the leading hand level I thought were really quite amazing in what they'd done. And the petty officers. I mean, I probably saw more of the petty officers and the senior eights in action doing the firefighting. I didn't actually see the officers. That in no way means the officers weren't doing it, and I just didn't witness that. And of course, there's many fewer officers on a ship than there are ratings. Afterwards, when all of the facts came out, there were some disappointing things out of that, but equally there was some other exemplary acts which I hadn't seen, and there was some posthumous decorations as well, which were well deserved too.